So we've got a new golf club to test and try. We've got the Ping i530 iron, a player's performance distance iron. Stick around, let's get into it. So the Ping i530 iron is to replace last year's or last couple of years the i525 iron. So this is a hollow body headed design and it's pitched as a player's performance iron. So this is going to be a distance iron pitched at the mid to low handicapper, so it's still going to be quite forgiving. It's got plenty of the same sort of technology that we've seen before, hydropearl finish. We've got the increased amount of grooves across the face so that you're going to get a little bit more spin out of the rough. Loft wise, coming in at standard loft at 29 degrees, so not the strongest thing that I've tested so far this year, but definitely not the weakest. So standard loft coming in at 29 on a 7 iron, power spec options available at 27.5 and retro spec as well, so the weaker lofts if you want them. The initial thoughts are you put it down, very nice. So very nice. It's a slightly nice compact head design. We've got narrower sole, so in reduced turf drag, and the top line is nice and clean. So as you look down on that, you wouldn't know that it's a hugely forgiving club to look at. It definitely gives those sort of blade type vibes that you now see. Shaft wise, the Ping have put a new shaft in line for the launch of these set of clubs, so they've now got the dynamic gold mid 100 shafts, so they're going to be available across their whole range, but they're calling that the stock shaft for this club. But obviously you can get any shaft that the Ping offer, or any of their stock shafts at least that are in there. There'll be upcharges on non-stock items for those clubs. They're also doing the mid 115 shaft as well available, and no upcharge on that. So yeah, initial thoughts are really like the look of the club. Put it down, it definitely looks like a nice, forgiving, nice, easy club to hit, but it's still, you know, it's not as small as the Blueprint, probably not as clean to look at as the Blueprint, but it definitely sits in that gap between the 430 iron and the Blueprint iron, so it is, it is a nice looking club. These clubs are going to retail, they're going to hit the sort of shops, so a 6 iron set, probably around about £1,070, so that's going to be about £178 per club. So let's hit a few and see how they perform. So as usual, we're going to be using Pro V1s and just hit 4 or 5 shots and then have a look at the numbers. So that's 5 shots hit, and first thoughts are, feels very, very nice. Now this is what you come to expect from Ping, particularly the players' performance ones. I like the 525 club, I like the G430, and I like the Blueprint. Everything that they do is very, very good. There's a lot of the technology that you've seen in the other clubs, with, toe, heel weighting, that makes them more forgiving. This is definitely very, very quick off the face in comparison to the Blueprint, but probably pretty close to what the 430 does as well. Briefly looking at the numbers there, you can see top carry at 183, which for me that's a lot further than what I would normally carry the ball with. Like a bit roll out there, 197 for a 7 iron. That's pretty good, but the average total there of carry is 171, and the average total distance 185. I mean, I'd always look at the carry as opposed to the total distance when you're doing these sort of things, because it's about how far the ball goes. You're not hitting 7 irons into fairways and looking for them to run out. This is just purely where the ball lands. So an average carry of 171, I'd say that's a little bit further than what I would normally look to carry the ball. And the backspin there, just over 5,000 revolutions per minute. So that's kind of what you're going to expect to see, these sort of things, that the ball's going to launch high and it's going to spin a little bit lower. That's how it's going to get the ball out there. And with those stronger lofts, that's what you'd expect. Where does this golf club sit in their range? In my mind, I'm thinking it's that lower to mid-handicap club. Don't think that a low-figure golfer's necessarily going to go for this because they are a little bit quick off the face, and the blueprint might provide a better option for a sort of very low-figure golfer. The 430 and this, they're probably comparable in terms of how forgiving they are. Probably the 430 slightly more forgiving, but you know, this feels certainly out the middle as good as the 430, so it sort of sits in there. In terms of, you know, could you blend this into a set? You could probably blend it into the 430 irons if you wanted to, but not the blueprints, because blueprints being that much weaker, or not necessarily hugely weaker in loft, but slightly weaker in loft, and generally lower ball speeds, not going quite as far. These, for me, they're not going to be blended into that, so I don't see that, you know, if you went with a blueprint to a 5 iron, you probably have to have a 5 iron in one of these to match up and treat that like a 4 iron from a set, and I don't think that you're necessarily going to do that. But you know, if you're a player that's looking for performance and distance but doesn't want to compromise on looks and style, this club could well be for you. So make sure that you go get it, check it out, and get yourself a fitting.